What is up, winning team? Hello and welcome back to part 5 of our current series. We're reading through Genesis 1 through 3 as part of a bigger series where we're looking at, is God real? If he's real, why is there evil in the world? And finally, why do people choose evil and not good, right? And so for this section that we're doing, we're reading through the books of Genesis 1 through 3 from a more scientific perspective, to try and picture like exactly what we might have missed, because I feel like there's so much that we have missed. It's been really good, really fun so far. Everything's linked in the description, and a full explanation of what this series is in the description box, in the playlist, and also all the further parts, because we are now about to start in Genesis 3, the fall. So without further ado, for those of you who've been here, you know what this is about. For those of you who are not sure, if you want to bother with this series, watch the intro so you can catch up, because we ain't got time. There's already not enough time to get through as much as I want to say. Okay, so Genesis 3, grab your Bibles, grab your notebooks, grab a drink, grab a snack. You're going to need it. You're going to need the hydration. You're going to need the energy. Okay. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made. Now let's talk about that for a second quickly. So if you look at what a serpent is not the same as a snake. And this is why we need to move away as believers from calling it a snake. It was not yet a snake. It became one. But it was a serpent. Now, I find that to be quite fascinating, because if you actually look at a serpent, they basically look like the precursor, or they look like dragons, which is why I wonder if, obviously there was a serpent there and there were serpents that came, whatever. But I honestly have a lot of theories about the kind of evolution of the serpent and what we might see in the book of Revelation. It talks about the dragon and all of this. I think that's like the super evolved form, because I won't get into too many details, because I said this is going to be more of a scientific approach. But all I'll say is we're going to see how in the kingdom of darkness, in the world, both from a scientific and a spiritual standpoint, I've talked about it, the enemy does the Mr. Smith thing of trying to inhabit, or change certain creatures, either inhabiting them in the spiritual aspect, like possessing them, or changing them physically, in order to evolve them for whatever usage. So just keep that in mind, that we're dealing with the serpent right now. And that it's interesting that we start on a serpent and we end on a dragon, which are basically like the same thing. It's like the evolved Pokemon. Like the dragon is like the evolved version of the serpent. He said to the woman, did God actually say? So, this is the bit, you guys. This is the bit where we are. This is going to be probably one of the most important parts of this entire series, right? Did God actually say, you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? So, we're going to get into, when we finish this Genesis 3, we're going to get into the fall of the enemy, right? We're going to get into his backstory and what that tells us about his thinking and what he was doing and what led him into his position. Because one of the things I was talking about in the previous video, I was saying how God, after doing everything, says, and a man shall leave his mother and hold fast to his wife, right? And those two shall become one flesh. And I was saying how this is a protective mechanism, as in you are under the protection of your mother and father, and then you're under the protection of being with the other person who I created for you to be in a close, tightly secured relationship with, to protect you from the risks of the outside, right? Because there are risks, there is evil. God knows this, but he's like, it's not good for you to know, because a lot of times things you don't know about, they can't affect you, right? That's why, like, if he doesn't, like how it's funny how somebody could be saying a whole bunch of horrible stuff about you behind your back, but you don't know about it, so it's not affecting you. But as soon as you hear it, now it's having an effect. It's like, yeah, why are you upset? Oh, I'm upset because so-and-so said this. So I want you to take that into account, that the God, in how he created this, is like, you guys, you'll move from this form of safety to this form of safety, right? Just stay that course and just trust me, because I believe God knew that us as humans, in us gaining this knowledge, would not be able to help but choose the wrong things. And I'm going to get into why. So, but we'll talk more about that in the upcoming parts after we finish Genesis 1-3. So he says, did God actually say, you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the trees in the garden. Okay, so she's now reiterating, and he's having her second guess what she already knows. This is what the Bible does. This is what the devil does as a deceiver. Remember that it starts off by telling us he's crafty. He gets us to second, but of course, surely that it's always surely, even for those of us who have suffered at the hands of certain types of crimes that people of other people. It's always like, surely that didn't happen. Surely that's not what they meant. Surely that little crumb of uncertainty is indeed the one piece of thread that is going to, unravel the entire yarn, because that's how we are as humans. God gave us the opportunity to think for ourselves, to make decisions. And so all that we need is a catalyst. So this is the catalyst. This question, you shall not eat of the... Did God actually say? And again, the other important detail here is the serpent is asking Eve. Why do you think he asked Eve? There's a lot of reasons, but one of them was Eve wasn't even created when Adam was given the instruction. In fact, she's not even called Eve yet. She's still woman. So the woman wasn't even created when the instruction was given. So who's going to be the easiest person to throw off? It's the one who wasn't given the direct instruction, right? She's there with the man, they're doing the thing. He's like, oh, by the way, let me tour you around this garden that I've been working on. These are the animals, these are the plants, and this is this tree. God said if we eat from this, we will die. So we're not going to eat from it. She's like, okay, like, you were here first. And it's probably not that big of a deal until the snake popped up. And this is what I'm saying to you guys about the temptation and the devil and just the world we live in and our nature as humans, is that we do have a desire for, anyway, we'll come to that. So she says, and the woman said to the serpent, again, where is Adam right now? Because Adam should be tightly secured. It said, hold fast. And at the end of the last thing, where are you? We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden. Neither shall you touch it, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die. Now, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. Before we get into exactly what was tantalized her to this fruit, I want to address this, you will not surely die. Because that's not entirely untrue. If we had the ability to gain all the knowledge, if we could gain all the knowledge of good and evil, we would not die. Because we would have enough information in order for us to live life and know everything, just like how we saw how God built the world, and to keep ourselves on the right path. Because let's not forget, sin is the word chet in Hebrew, which means to veer off the right path, to miss the mark, to lose focus. Yeah? So if we did possess the ability to have all the knowledge of everything, then we wouldn't die. The point that she doesn't know, and this is why I'm saying the devil's crafty, is that you don't possess the ability to do that, though. So on a technicality, he got Eve on a technicality. Can you imagine? He literally got Eve on a technicality because what he's saying isn't technically incorrect, and it's also not technically correct. But any type of truth that can also have a lie in it is no longer a truth at all. Right? And that's why truth is black and white. That's why God just said, just don't eat of it. You will die. Like, you will die. That's why God can say you will die, because if you try to do everything in your own will, your own understanding, it's going to create chaos. Chaos is going to lead to death. And that's why I've said to you guys many times, I believe heaven is the place of total chaos and of total order, and hell is a place of total chaos. We just spent 2 chapters watching God put everything in order, finishing off on, and a man shall leave his mother and father and hold fast to his wife. The two shall become one flesh. And the man and woman were not naked or ashamed. Right? So now they could, I just thought about the fact that they also weren't actually naked. Oh, that's going to become important for what I was going to say about the... they were naked and we're not ashamed. Okay, cool. That's cool. Okay. Anyway, so do you see that? So now he's put this thing in her head of like, oh, I didn't know that. And like, maybe she genuinely might have thought maybe Adam didn't know either. Or yeah, he did have a name at that point. She also thought Adam didn't know either. What I'm trying to show to you guys is the reason why God calls us his children is because we are always in a childlike state of being entirely naive of what's happening around us. Hence why he creates all these protective mechanisms around us, such as good, godly, spirit-filled, Christ-centered, who are in love parents that look after us, right? And then the only immediate next thing we do is go immediately to forge that with somebody else. Yeah, it's a protective mechanism. Because imagine now, the things that you would teach. I, for example, would teach my own child, hey, listen, there's deceivers out there. Like, you know what I mean? So don't be so quick to, like, this is why I tell you guys all the time about women can be angels or witches, and there's nothing in between. And a lot of time the witches look just the same as the angels. Here are some things you can look out for. Like, this is what we're supposed to do. So I'm supposed to have villages, communities, whatever. And these relationships. So yeah, so she's now like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? She's probably that's what I'm saying. She's probably genuinely was quite innocent in all of this. I actually think we've historically, maybe even I don't, because I've said to you guys all the time, I always describe myself as being similar to Eve, right? And I still see it that way. Like, you could be, because I mean, listen, the other day I uploaded a video, this is what an idiot looks like, and it was a picture of me, realizing that I trusted in all the wrong people and all the wrong things throughout my entire life, unintentionally trying to actually do the right thing. And I think that's the key thing that we have to take away from this story, that unfortunately I don't think we do. We're too busy like, oh, we're going to blame Eve for our period pains, we're going to blame Eve for taking the man off the whatever. But actually, she's just as human as the rest of us. And this is exactly why God said what he said. He's like, just trust me. Trust I have your best interest at heart. As you should be able to see that from everything I've done. Because I'm telling you, it's not worth it. And now here we are in 2025. I'm making this series because the world is an absolutely flipping hellscape, right? All because we thought we knew what we were doing, and we couldn't just trust the one person who clearly, from what we could see, would have organized everything anyway, right? That's how serious this is, right? Literally, the enemy got Eve on a technicality. Hold on a minute. That's why this whole thing that we have these days of like, I don't want God to run my life. I don't want God to do this. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't. That's actually the problem. That's what's wrong with the world. What's wrong with the world is we are lost. That's why even Jesus says in Matthew 9, when he comes, it says, Jesus looked upon the people and they were hopeless and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. And his heart was filled with compassion. Because he was like, oh, bless, you guys are lost. Oh, that's how the Lord is looking at us. That's why pride is one of the worst things we can have, because in pride, you won't be able to humble yourself to come before the Lord and acknowledge some of these things. It's easier to blame him because then you're not to blame. And that's the foundation of narcissism in itself. You're so unwilling to accept the truth about yourself that you have to put those truths onto somebody else and make somebody else's reality. And then because you make that somebody else's reality, then you get to live in the fake reality where, because they're believing that reality, so they also believe in the reality. So now it's a fake reality, right? And the real truth is you are the problem. That's why people are so quick. That's why I believe people are so quick to assume, oh, good God wouldn't do this. Good God wouldn't do this. No. A good world. People don't want to understand that the world is not a good place. This is why I've been calling it a hellscape, and why I'm realizing, oh, God is allowing me to see that, because it's like that. No, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Everybody wants to believe they're a good person. Everybody wants to be seen to be, noble. But then, yeah, we're like, oh, if there's poverty in the world, let's save money. We've got more than enough on the earth already for everybody to thrive. We don't, because humans are selfish and greedy. And selfish and greedy, that's the truth. And I believe that's the same with the enemy. I believe that's exactly what happened with him. I'll get more into that when we get into the books of Ezekiel. Because God gave him literally everything. He was the morning star. He was all of this. It's like, what more do you want? It's the same thing for Eve. Like, what more do you want? You've got one tree you can't eat from. What more do you really want? But that's the nature. So I'm saying God doesn't make that choice. God knows that we would make that choice because we would be easily deceived, because he's also aware that there's an enemy now who also made the same mistake. And he's like, look, I'm trying to protect you. You should just listen to me. And then so he says, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, you see, and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil, this all-seeing eye. You now have, now I can see. And you know the problem with that is once we can see, our eyes are open, we now think we know. We now look at somebody and go, you look trustworthy. That looks trustworthy. That looks wrong. That looks wrong. But guess what? Our eyes can be deceived. Our eyes can be deceived. Let's just simply think about something like makeup, for example. Now, I love makeup. I don't do my makeup often. I do like to do it, and I think it's an art form, and I think it's gorgeous a lot of times. But let's not pretend that somebody can completely change what you think of them just by your sight. My generation is about to have a whole bunch of babies. People are going to come out with kids. There's going to be men having kids, yeah, and women having kids with somebody, and children are going to come out looking like something entirely that never came from that family, and that's because both of their parents have had plastic surgeries. You know what I'm saying? The eyes might see one thing, but what's really going on cannot be changed, you know? And so that's why I'm saying this gift of sight thing wasn't a good thing. Us just following blindly was the better thing. We actually should follow God blindly, just like how kids should blindly follow their parents, right? If they're good, godly, Jesus, Holy Spirit filled with Jesus at the center of their marriage, and are also in love. I have to state that because parents these days, like, yeah. It's like, you're not even, if you're not that, you're not the protective mechanism. In fact, you become the offensive mechanism, because now you're the closest form of the kingdom of darkness to them. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so good and evil. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. So he's like, your eyes will be opened. She's like, I gotta see this. So what were they experiencing before? I wonder. But I would liken it to, you know, the difference between, it's literally like, to me, it's almost like the difference between growing up as a kid and you live in your house, in your town, in your village, and that's all that you know, versus my generation where we have these devices, where we can see absolutely everything and have access to everything, right? When you're just there and you're aloof, just like, oh, I don't know anything about anything. All you know is, you know, your community, your house, your home, your parents, your family, your friends down the road, the nice lady, the bakery, the park. You know what I mean? When you have this now, all of a sudden, not a good story. So that's what I think was happening. And so she's all tempted by, oh, what have I not seen? And so again, she's being tempted. Once again, how can people be tempted by something they're unaware of even exists? Somebody has to bring that existence. So the devil is trying to now show her, like, I had some thoughts that led me somewhere. In fact, I think he was more tempted by seeing what God was preparing for the humans. I think that's what actually got him. The desire to make one wise. So she's looking for wisdom, right? Because the tree is called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. She's enticed at the concept of wisdom. Because right now we're just obedient to the Lord, right? And I've always said that I feel like, you know, God puts knowledge into men and wisdom into women. Hence why the book of Proverbs is written with the she pronouns. And who wrote the book of Proverbs? It was Solomon, who had 700 wives and 300 concubines. I think he learned a few things. Or a lot. She took one of its fruits and ate, and she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. And again, she's thinking, oh my gosh, babe, can you believe this? I can't believe what I just found out. You have to have this. we could be wisdom, we can have this, you know, like whatever. And he's thinking, whoa, this woman you gave me is insane. I'm so glad to have her. But little did he know. Then the eyes of both were opened and they knew that they were naked. I'm going to talk about it in a separate video because I'm trying to keep these videos shorter. What's the significance of Adam and Eve realizing that they were naked? We're going to talk about that in a minute because there is a significance in that. Because I also looked into the Hebrew meaning of the word naked, and that the fact that they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths. Oh, there's so much to unpack in that. Just a little bit there. I don't know why I always have to make my series so long. I promise you guys I actually try to keep them short. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video where we're going to talk about what is it about the naked thing. Why does that matter? So what? It's just the two of you. Just the two of us. What does it matter? Oh, you're about to find out. Guys, if you're enjoying this, I cannot wait to see you in the next part. I think that'll be part 6. So buckle up and stay tuned. And head over there. All the videos will be linked in the description box below in one full playlist with everything from the beginning. And the first video being the intro to this entire series, because this Genesis 1 through 3 is only just the beginning. And on that note, if life is a game, let's play to win. I'll catch you in part 6. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one.